get that, get this set up over here, and mute everyone. There we go. Okay, now we're all set. So welcome everyone. Thank you for showing up. I'm so glad that I'm not the only one here. But it's all so much fun to share in everyone's energy. So I'm super glad that you're here. The group would not be the same without you. So tonight we have a special treat. We have our previous Coptic director, John Davis, coming back again through video to share some wise words and his wonderful energy on replay. But before we get to that, there's a few other things that we really should do. Normally with these meetings, the MC normally does a reading of the Coptic mission statement. I don't have that in front of me, and I kind of like doing a more improvised version of that anyways. So for anyone who's not familiar with the Coptic Fellowship, the key idea behind the Coptic Fellowship is right in the name, fellowship. It's about community. It's about people getting together and sharing ideas. John was always fond of calling it a round table. There's no one at the head of the table because it is round. Everyone is just as much an authority as everyone else. We all have ideas to share. We all have wisdom to share. We all have stories to tell. And through these meetings, we get together and we're able to share our stories with each other, and we all are blessed because of it. In addition to that, the Coptic Fellowship is focused on sharing the wisdom of our founder, Master Hamid Bey, who came from the Egyptian mystery schools, brought a lot of wisdom that is very valuable even today. We study other masters as well. There's a number of the Tuesday evening sessions where they bring out the wisdom and the teachings of a different master, and then there's a big discussion around those teachings. I think we're going to go ahead and just get right into the presentation for today, which, as you have heard, is our previous director, Master John Davis. And this presentation comes from one that he gave back in June of 2016. And what was interesting is he was filling in because the speaker who was originally scheduled for that date wasn't able to make it. And it's incredible just how well he was able to come up with something powerful in the moment. And so I'm going to be sharing the screen here in just a moment.
Did anyone see a movie called Defending Your Life many years ago? Please raise your hand. For me, it was a wake-up call. And being a wake-up call, we are here out of, for many, many reasons. By the way, it starred Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep, matter of fact. Story of a man who was killed in a car accident, and he went to heaven, and he had to go into a court of law where there was a defending attorney and a prosecution attorney to decide where he was going to go after his time, after the trial, actually. So what they did is they showed part of his life, the good part of his life and the negative part of his life. And at the end of that, there was a decision made of where he was going to go from there. Was he going to go to another solar system? Was he going to come back to Earth because he still had issues here? He still had some desires to overcome? And then he met Meryl Streep, and it was kind of a romantic adventure, and everything turned out wonderful, but I wasn't really sure whether he was going to come back to Earth or whether he was going to go to another solar system. In my heart of hearts, I feel symbolically that it's kind of the story of our life. Because we've had hundreds of lifetimes, as you know. What are we doing here? And this is what this is about. What are we doing here? And how do we get to graduation? So we have a choice of saying, you want to go back to planet Earth? And by the way, you may have volunteered to come down right now.
Yeah.
You don't know that. You may have said, I'll come down and help create a new Earth. I'll use the power of my mind to create that. Or you came down here for other reasons. And one of the reasons is that we are in the center of a round table of individuals. And one of the big issues on this earth plane is how we handle difficult people. Oh, it's easy to deal with people who are, our brothers, our sisters, and all those wonderful things who are always nice and so forth and so on. However, there is a test. And since we are in the center and attract exactly what we are and what we desire and what we deserve, and therefore the test is, here is the person. What do we do? Do we just say, oh my gosh, that's a mirror of me from another lifetime? Because it was. All people around you that you are attracted to emotionally are a mirror of you and I in other lifetimes. And it isn't easy. By the way, there's a perfect house on earth. It is so perfect, and it houses the perfect family. It is fantastic. And who lives in it? Nobody. Because you start out at the feet of the symbolic Nile River. And the left foot is mother, and the right foot is dad. And you were exactly like your parents in past lifetimes, because they were your children. Oh, yes. They were your children. And the way they treated you, how you treated them, and it's those first seeds that you're born with, those first seeds that we are drawn to. And who are we drawn to? Who's there? It's mom and dad, basically. And all the essence of their soul growth of many lifetimes, all the lifetimes they've lived, and you're going back and forth. And there's a family DNA going on here with the situation here, because they're going to be back again. And my parents have passed away. And I know it's just like mom and dad, because I have a lot of their habits. You ever notice that? You ever feel the habits of your parents? Mm-hmm. Because those first impressions, emotionally, mentally, they all come into us, and then they grow. Out of a little seed grows a great oak tree. And what happens is those issues that happen in childhood, we have to deal with as we get older. And there's all the cycles of life. It's our youth. It's our time in school. And then when we go to college, and then we take our first job. By the way, those bosses you had in work, just like you were just that kind of boss. Isn't that interesting? And the way they treated you is the way you, as a boss, treated employees in other lifetimes. So all of a sudden, how do we handle these people? Do we say, oh my gosh, they're just like us in another lifetime? Or do we say, oh my God, what did I do to deserve this? What did I deserve to deal with that? And your spouses? Exactly like you. And by the way, in my marriage counseling, I always say, when I'm talking to a person who's gone through a divorce, I said, you went through a divorce. I said, it's the most difficult thing you've ever gone through. And you know something? That's Christian crucifixion. That spouse you cannot get along with. That was crucifixion. And guess what's coming? Resurrection. The next man in your life. He or she is your resurrection. So I always say, I want you to do something. I want you to think about what you want in a man or a woman. And you think about it, and you say, I want to find the perfect mate You think about it, say it, and write it down. And it will be drawn to you. We have so much power with the power of mind. The law of attraction is fantastic because the magnets and mirrors in our life are phenomenal. They're right there. And if it's important, it's right there. And what do we do when it's right there? Do we overreact? Because we've all gone through challenges, and you know what? We've grown to the quality person that we are today, how we handle them. And Jesus was so right when he said, "Forgive him, Father, he knows not what he does." Because we earn them. And how we treat Judas, in my opinion, or the Judases, very few people have one, how we treat that person, and we do not hurt them. We do not hurt them. We do not spread rumors about them or share the story, because we realize how we treat Judas is so very important. One of the most important powers of graduating from this earth plane is one little word: habit. Habit is critical. And that's what we learned when I went through minister training as a Coptic minister way back in the 60s and 70s. I learned from the great masters. And they taught us about habit. And once you start something like a New Year's resolution, once you say you're going to do something, say, oh my gosh, I'm going to work out. I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to do it every day, every day, every day, every day. And what you do with that commitment that you said you were going to do is very, very important. Because this is about mastering this physical body and all of its desires. All of them. And we know the main ones. I've said it 100 times: money, sex, and power. Nobody talks about it. They're all three wonderful. But those are the three things that we have to master. And it's all in the word Sphinx. Because when an Egyptian initiate went through the training program and got up to the Sphinx, because there was always a Coptic master or an Egyptian master way to say, are you ready to go on to the higher chakra? And the Sphinx is right here. And you're evaluated at that level by the Coptic master or the Egyptian master of saying, it's time for you to go into the Great Pyramid energy. And then you go up into the Great Pyramid. And all the way through the system of the physical body. And when we go to Egypt, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be spending a lot of time dealing with the chakra system. The same one Hamid Bey went through when he was a younger man. When he had at the solar plexus, he had to jump into the Nile River and swim across the river. And guess what's in the river? Crocodiles. And you have to, that student going up the Nile had to reason, is it intuitively right for me to go in the river? And some didn't make it. Hamid Bey told me the story. I spent a lot of time with Hamid Bey. He told me those stories about some of the initiates going up the Nile that did not get over the Nile. And that's the power of now we don't go through anything like that, of course. But symbolically, and that solar plexus is all about power. Will I meditate? Will I exercise? Will I pray every day for the benefit of the world? And sometimes you don't. And sometimes you get off the path. And what I recommend is forgive yourself, pat yourself on the back for what you've done, and start all over again. And one of the things in life that's so important is when we fail, we have to just say, oh, I did it again. I forgive myself. I'm going to pick myself up, and I'm going to start all over again. And some people can't do it because they go through that feelings of, oh, if only. And in my numerology readings, I always take people through the forgiveness exercise, and I always say, you're carrying a rope, and at the end of the rope is a rock, and on it says, if only. We have to cut that block and release it. because nobody's perfect. See, what really happens with religion, the Christians think Jesus is perfect. The Jews think Moses is perfect. The Buddhists think Buddha is perfect. But you know, they weren't either. There's nobody perfect here. Because of the fact this is a tough school, schoolmates, because we are in a school of learning. And that's why, what do we do when we get through high school? We graduate. What do we do when we get through college? We graduate. We had a graduation yesterday. It was a wonderful, wonderful day, by the way. A fantastic day. It was such a wonderful family feeling here, where people went through that initiation, and when they were ordained, they went through a very challenging course, and they did it. So this whole thing of dealing with the mind and its powers, what I want you to consider doing is every day use two words. I'm love, I'm joy, I'm peace, I'm strength, I'm might, I'm power, I'm success, I'm happiness, I am light, I am healthy, I am mentally sharp. I feel love, I feel joy, I feel peace, I feel strength, I feel might, I feel power, I feel success, I feel happiness, I feel light. That changes you. You state your new creation in this physical body. You are a God of this body. And that God says and has certain laws. And what it says, when you start something, finish it. I did a lot of counseling with alcoholics. A lot of them. And very few made it through, by the way. And I always said during that time, at the end of what I was saying, I'd say, you're at a point right here. If you stop drinking, your life is going to take a positive shift upward. If you don't, I'm not going the other way. You know what's going to happen. But you have to give up drinking one day at a time. And the first thing you got to do, you got to get rid of your alcoholic friends. That's a tough one. Because after you get through something after 4 months and you've given up drinking, you go out with your buddies. And you want to order a Coke. But they say to you, hey, you've got this beat. Just take one little drink. So you see, think of the temptations on this earth plane. Think of the volume of temptations that are on the earth plane. They're phenomenal. We know that they are. And what we have to do is sometimes the word no is a positive. I'm not saying K-N-O-W either. I'm saying N-O, no, I will not. And when does this happen? It's when we're celebrating or when we are depressed. That's when we are tempted to fill that void of the failure or what we're struggling with or whatever is going on in our life. And that basically just determines whether we graduate from the airplane. It sounds symbolic, but it's more than that. Some famous people in history had the number 71. Here are some of those people. One was Thoth, the first priest king of Atlantis. Another one was Moses. And another one was Merlin. And what does 71 represent? Seventh chakra, first chakra. What they were saying symbolically, and they were teaching their disciples, you have to raise your energy from the root chakra to the top. And if you do, you will graduate from this earth plane. And the challenge of that 71 is number 6. I don't want the responsibility for that. I don't want the responsibility. And by the way, this thing with Thoth, he overlighted all the Amenhotep pharaohs in Egypt. When you analyze Amenhotep from the spiritual level, it adds up to Thoth. The energy of Thoth, which, by the way, the United States of America emulated and created the pure democracy, he's given credit on July 4th of 1776. This was one of the greatest men who ever lived, and nobody's ever heard their name. His name, by the way, but the founding fathers knew, and they said, we're going to give him credit, because they were numerologists too. So what I'm asking you to do is just take 20 minutes a day to meditate. Wake up in the morning, drink a glass of lemon and water. I've been doing it for 40 years. It's automatic. Eat fruit for breakfast. Eat like a king for breakfast, queen for lunch, pauper for dinner. And only eat food that is beneficial to you. Because we have to master our eating habits to, again, graduate. As we move into what we call the second birth, everybody in this room has had a second birth. You went to a spiritual reading, a psychic reading. You went and heard a talk, a speech that kind of turned it on for you. You had the ability to understand that this is so very important. And it's really basing it down to something very, very, very simplistic. Right now, we're in a phase that we can really do some co-creation here. And you're being called tonight. You probably heard this before, but this is important. One of the reasons you incarnated is to live during this time period of fantastic shift. It's a shifting thing. And the first one is every cycle lasts 9 years. And the first year of a cycle is springtime. And when you have springtime, what do? You plant seeds. In the United States of America, they're waiting for you. Your country needs you. Because this 9-year cycle began July 4th of 2015 and ends July 3rd of 2016. And after that, no springtime. What do you want for the future of America? Because it's in your hands, and people like us. We have no idea the power of prayer and thought projection. We have no idea how powerful we are. We are powerful spiritual beings, powerful beyond our belief. But what we do is, I know what I'm praying for. We're going to have the greatest economy in the history of the United States. And the United States is going to be a prototype of world peace. And they're going to move in and say, peace, peace, peace upon the earth. With many, 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 many countries to be that prototype. And as I speak, and as we pray, it will manifest. It may take 9 days, 9 months, 9 years, 90 years. However, it will happen. And we are the ones. We are the world servers. The world, and by the way, our world starts right here. Here's the lower oval of the 8, and here's the higher oval of the 8, and the higher oval of the 8 is the world. And this is the physical part of us, okay? So it goes like this. Mind power, thought projection, praying, all happens in the world. And then it comes down here and manifests here, and then expands outward, up and down, because the word prayer has 2 R's, and R means mirror. If you have an R in your life is a mirror. On the physical level, it's your first name. If it's a second level R, it's your middle name. If it's your spiritual R and your last name, you have a lot of this. That person in your life is there. That situation is here. It's very, very challenging. And guess what? The power of prayer. Prayer has 2 R's. So the prayer goes, down into the conscious and the subconscious mind. And it goes upward. The other hour goes up into the superconscious, because you are here to become superconscious. We have many heroes. We have so many heroes. I used to be a Superman guy, and I love Batman, and I love Superwoman. All right? Why are they there? They're mirrors of the potential superconscious mind. That's what they are. That's how powerful we are. That's why they're there. Spirit created Batman, Superman. And by the way, Spirit communicates with us so very simply. A simple thought from their mind into our mind. We think it's our thought. We think it's ours. It's our guides. Jesus, plant those seeds. It's time. It's time for you to start dealing with diet, meditation, exercise. It's time for you to pray for the planet. And by the way, that change of the planet starts January 1 of 2017 of a new physical, mental, emotional for the whole planet. So we're going to have a big celebration here on January 1. We're going to be praying for a lot of great things because we are now in charge of the planet. We, the world servers, are in charge to plant those seeds. And what are we going to talk about? Only positivity, love, light, oneness, complete world peace. The world is one family. We've lived in all those countries. We've been there with all those people, and they need us. And if we don't have to travel there, we can just project the energy with our intention as a superconscious being. And Jesus said, don't you know ye are gods to his disciples? So are we. We have power. And the more pure that power is, the more powerful of the superconscious mind. Because that superconscious mind is super, but it's all for the benefit of all other people. We are here to touch lives. I've told you before what the name, what the symbolic energy of tongue is. It's in my book, Revelation for Our Time. The Lord. You mean the Lord is our tongue? Absolutely. This tongue? We're the Lord. Be careful what you say. It's going to come back. Well, you gotta be kidding me. Well, there's three fingers pointing at you and one at him or her. What's this about? Takes one to know one, doesn't it? Yeah. Right. And what we're here to do is say, that person going through some struggles. And I happen to be his Judas. He's taking it out on me, but he's also mine, and I'm not going to hurt him. I'm going to pray for him. It's going to be tough because I remember what he did to me. It wasn't a happy time. Jesus said it very, very simply. Forgive him, Father. He knows not what he does. These things are simple quips. They are simple actions, but they change your life. And who benefits? You, your self-image. And I used to talk to my alcoholics. They said, well, I had a drink the other night, but nobody knew about it. I said, the most important person knew about it, you. We all have those times when we want to dive into our addiction, whatever that might be. I'm not going to go through the addictions. You know what they are. You have to release them. Release them. And get ready for graduation. When you go to the other side, your guides are going to be waiting for you. Your family's going to be there. Think of it. All the people you've known in your life, the relatives that have lived, they're going to say, welcome home. And we've had a lot of speakers here who have gone to the other side. One of my closest friends, Ahmed Fayed, who was my Egyptian guide for 15, 20 years. He got in a car accident, went to the other side. One of the greatest men I've ever met. Came back and said, wow, that place is beautiful. It is wonderful. It is pure love, pure light. Oh, I hate to come back, but I had to come back and finish some stuff here. So this talk tonight has all been about you and your graduation. Graduation day. We're going to do it. We're going to make it. So that's my input on what are we doing here? Going to school. A darn tough school, boy. Holy smoke. Oh, it's great up here, but how about down here? Oh my God, you see what I'm going through. I can't believe it. Crucifixion. Never heard that saying, wait 24 hours? It happens all the time. That bad day, the next day, it's great. What happens? It's the test of that day 24 hours later. It's amazing. And you've all gone through that. What's it shift in 24 hours? A little test going on here, a little earth test. So what I want you to get out of this is just think about the simplicity of your life and reinforce and tell yourself how wonderful you are. Because one thing we're missing in the life is self-love. We don't love ourselves enough. We are wonderful, wonderful people who are trying to live a wonderful, magnificent life. Sometimes we just don't do well. Say, I'm love, I'm joy, I'm peace, I'm strength, I am light, I'm power, I'm success, I'm happiness, I'm light. And wiggle that tongue, lords, and everybody around you. You'll be a prototype. And they'll say, I want to become just like her. I want to become just like him. Because you are a prototype of love and life and magnificence. God bless.
There was so much information in that presentation. One thing that I noticed while he was talking is that was done in 2016, which was exactly, well, not quite exactly, but very close to being 9 years before today. And so when he was talking about at the first of the year, we're planting new seeds for a new cycle, that can still be said now, because this year, when you add up the digits 2025, they add up to a 9, which is the same number that the 2016 added up to when he gave that presentation. So we're in a 9 year. So we're at the end of a cycle. But as he says, every day is a new beginning. Every day we have an opportunity to plant seeds for something to grow into our experience. And it's up to us to choose what we focus on, choose what we pray for, and choose what we are going to manifest into our lives. So even though 2026 will be the beginning of a new 9-year cycle, we can still start planting new seeds now. So I'm going to go ahead and just invite anyone to share thoughts.
Hey, Alan, this is
Thank you,
Pete.
Alan.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
All I'm gonna say is wow. Wow.
Yep.
What a guy. What a guy. Beautiful.
Yeah, he was definitely on fire for that one. Yeah. And I heard another voice in there too.
Yeah.
Claudia, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for choosing this one and playing it again for us. I halfway remember being there.
Actually, Nancy chose this one, so thank her
thank
for
you, Nancy.
for the choice.
Yeah, he was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the year that Lynn and I decided to do the Egypt trip, because they hadn't done it for a while before then, and that was the first year in a while that they were going to do it. And we made the decision that one way or another, it was going to happen. And the money just kind of magically appeared for it.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
When he talked about the 9-year cycles and the first one was spring, so we would be entering the next 9-year cycle, which would be described as summer. So are we in a period of what? Growth? How
Okay,
are we
I'm not
gonna-
exactly
yeah.
sure if I completely understand the full question, but I think what he was talking about is in a 9-year cycle, you've got the first year, the second year, the third year, and then on through the 9th year. And the first part of the cycle is where new life starts to come forth, which is kind of what we experience in spring. We're waking up out of winter and new life is starting to form. The buds are coming out on the trees. Flowers are starting to bloom. All of that kind of stuff happens in that early part of the cycle. And then as the cycle continues, we grow into whatever that cycle is about until we reach the summertime and everything seems to be in full bloom and everything is really going at full force. And then after summer, then it starts to fade down a little bit into autumn. And we start to pull back a little bit and we start to reflect a little bit. And then we go into winter, which is the ending part of the cycle, which right now, if we look at what he was talking about, we're in the 9th year of a cycle. So we're definitely in the winter phase of that cycle. And winter is all about renewal. Winter is all about clearing out the energies of the past to make clear a new fertile ground for the seeds to come, for the new springtime to come. And I think what he was saying also in there is that even though January of the 1 year, which would be next January, is the springtime, we get to plant the seeds now for what's going to come out in that new cycle. At least that's my understanding. I'm not the numerologist that he was, so I can't give you all the details. So that's just my understanding of that.
So he's working off of numerology. He's looking at everything through numerology.
Most
Well-
things, yeah. Most things he definitely applied the numerology to it because he was a master at that.
9 years would be 3, 6, 9. So 9, 9 years, how do we get 4 cycles out of 9 years? Okay.
Well, maybe because they're not completely in a year frame, I guess.
Right. Well, I'm sorry, I'm thinking linear and
Yeah.
it isn't necessarily linear. So what we do
Let's see, let me
now,
grab my calculator because I can probably look at it. If we look at 9
what
years
is it?
times 12
2
months,
and a half.
108, and then divide that by 4, then it comes out to an even 27 months for each of the 4 cycles.
Okay, there it is. There it is. And what is 27? 9.
9.
3 cycles of 9, yep.
3 cycles of 9. Okay, so
Yep.
all right, so we are in a stage now of preparing for the spring that will begin after January 1st, 26.
That's definitely one way to look at it. That's
Or this is this is the final stage and the big change that has happened throughout the year or the cycle.
yeah.
What is winter again? Explain winter again, because winter usually seems to be a time of rest and recuperation and withdrawing and contemplating and kind of almost a meditative time, to look back on what we've done
Right.
Yep.
It's reflection
and preparing for the next cycle.
Mhm.
Yes. What do you want to plant the next year? Everybody gets their seed catalogs and the end, well, you do at the end of the year, getting
Mhm.
ready. So we are in this cycle now of the reflection. And
I think
so
a lot of us are reflecting, don't you?
yes, that's what I was thinking too. Exactly.
There's so much to reflect about because we're experiencing something that globally is really kind of new to us. I mean, it's old, but it's new. And
It's never been done before. We've not done this before. Not
yeah,
in this way. And the evolution of the human consciousness has not been accomplished on this planet or in this before. So this is a totally new experience for us.
mhm.
So we are preparing then for spring, more or less, and what seeds we would want to, what direction we want to go. Correct?
Mm-hmm. But you know,
So-
seeds have to fall on good organic soil and get good nutrients and good moisture to grow. So there's a symbology there, you know. We have to tend to our seeds. We have to tend to our
Thoughts.
farming. Yeah.
Our thoughts.
Our garden. We have to
Yes.
tend to that. And I think maybe that's what he was saying when he said, just meditate 20 minutes a day. Be mindful of, you know, raising your vibration. Be mindful of your diet. You know,
Your tongue. Mindful of your tongue. And
yeah,
what you say. Okay.
maybe.
Maybe. I thought that was interesting, his analogy about the tongue and how that, and it has always been the case of speaking. I think you have to, the power of the word.
Well, that and the tongue can hurt and the tongue can heal.
Yes.
And that's how mighty that sword in our mouth is. You know?
Yes. We sure see that now. And so staying positive is the preparation of the soil mostly, I think anyway. It's saying, looking for that, like he said, yeah, the good, looking for what is going right. What in all of this is the benefit of it? It doesn't, right now it's always difficult to see the good of something when you're in the middle of the power outage. It's hard to see what good that is, you know.
Mhm.
And it's hard to see because the darkness can be all you see.
Mhm.
Yet, but darkness is just the absence of the light, and all you do is turn on the light, and the darkness is gone. And so, if we prepare the soil, would be to make sure there's the sunlight and the water, and like you said, the organic earth. And the wind, of course, which brings the seeds and dries the earth so you can plant in it. All the elements are there. So, okay. I just didn't understand how you explained that, how it went through all the seasons in that nine years and how that takes us to where we are right now. That was very interesting that we are very close to where he was when he
I almost
spoke
think
before.
that John was thinking of the harvest. I don't know if he was thinking about the winter where we kind of slow down and reflect, but I think he was hoping that with the good positive seeds that we plant, we're going to have a bountiful harvest. But there are 4 seasons a year, so
You do have a harvest. You always have the harvest in the fall, autumn.
Right.
And
Right.
then what do you do with it? You usually store it, you can it, you freeze it, you save it to get you through the winter into the spring to plant again. And
that's interesting.
you save the seeds too. You save the seeds from the harvest to replant again in the spring. And so it's like we kind of look at our harvest in the fall and we go, well, I have the potatoes. We don't want to eat all of those. We're using for seeds. And we've got this and this will be seed. These are all the seeds that we have in order to be able to plant again in the spring and bring forth another harvest and a growth time.
Yeah. Another way of looking at that analogy as far as harvesting and planting the seeds again, that's kind of one way that we could look at these meetings where we're listening to the wisdom of each other And we are, in a sense, harvesting the wisdom and the seeds of ideas that we are given by people like John. And then we can choose to plant the ones that we want to experience in our lives. And I think that's part of what he was saying too, is that when you're in the high point of experience, it's easy to be positive. It's when we're in the low parts of experience that we have to be persistent and determined and be in control of ourselves to choose to focus on the thoughts that we want, those seeds that we want to plant into our lives during those times as well. Because in life, the one thing he says is that every day is a conception day, every day is a birthday. Every day we have a choice to plant certain seeds of thoughts. And then those seeds of thoughts will grow into experiences that we will harvest at a later time. And so every day we have that choice. And even though there are times when it is appropriate to pull back and rest and recover and be in our winter time, we can choose when those are, because as a human being, we're not bound by the same limitations as Mother Nature. And the seasons of the year are a little bit more strict than the seasons within ourselves. At least, again, that's how I interpret things. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's the way that I interpret it.
I never thought about that. That's a good point.
So anybody
Yeah.
else have any ideas? Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I want to thank Nancy for picking the video. Thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome.
You look marvelous.
Thank you. I had to get ready for my husband.
I know. I mean, that's so much information that John gave that talk.
I know. And like Alan said, Andy, I think I remember that night when Andy called about 4:30. You know, I can't make it. I'm not well. I don't feel well. No problem, Andy, you know? And, you know, John was a great teacher. He wasn't a perfect human being. None of us are. But I think I can attest to the fact that he really walked his talk. So, yeah.
I know he did, Nancy. He was a great man, great teacher, very, very. I mean, he really motivated me to be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So, you know, I don't what? But he really did, Nancy.
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for John. Sure you do.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful guy. And thank you so much for sharing.
You know, he may
So-
not be here, and I've never met him, and I've never heard him before, but he's obviously here, Pete. He's obviously here.
I think so.
Oh, yes. He was here this evening. We heard what he said. It's touched all of us. His presence. I can feel it in my heart. And I this is my first, second meeting, and I can definitely feel his presence. It's important.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Wonderful energy. Wonderful energy. So does anybody else have something to share? Or should we just go ahead and close out tonight?
Yeah, hi. I really like thank you for the presentation. I really like the part about forgive him for he doesn't know what he's doing. Because so often you get caught up in the emotion, right? And then you start the storytelling. Whereas the best way is just to approach it there
Mm-hmm.
and just let it go, right? Kind of break that cycle or that energy that we don't want to carry forward.
Mm-hmm.
by being a little aware and remembering just that simple but super powerful phrase.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, because very few people actually awaken to the fact that they do have the ability to master themselves and to choose what they think and how they feel in a given moment. And like you said, there's some times when all hell's breaking loose and you're right in the middle of it and you're just so focused on trying to keep your own balance that sometimes you forget about that. So even those of us who do try to keep control of ourselves in the main will occasionally lose control from time to time.
Mhm.
That's our humanness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And like John said, even Christ, Buddha, um, Gandhi, all of them,
Mhm.
none of them were perfect.
Mhm. Mhm. And the loving ourselves part was also very nice.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, you've got to forgive yourself as well as forgiving others.
Mhm.
Pick
Yeah, thank
yourself
you guys.
up.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a story that I tell once in a while that kind of illustrates some of that self-forgiveness. Because there was a point in time in my life when I was so focused on what was going wrong in my life. And it seemed like there was so much that I had to be angry for that I got so used to getting angry at things that it became my natural state. It became the thing that was more common than anything else. And this was even after I started learning about the power of the mind and the power of our thoughts. And it eventually got to the point where I finally realized what I was doing to myself. And I finally realized that if I'm the one who's creating my life, then I have to choose to be in control of my thoughts. And so I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to get control of this anger thing. I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to find a way to be a better person. And so one day I sat down, I got into kind of a meditative state and I wanted to focus on love. And it's like, okay, what's the opposite of anger? Love. Love is the state that I want to be in. Love is the feeling that I want to have in my life. And so I sat down and I started focusing on love. And I think I got maybe about 3 minutes in. And then some thought went through my mind and I was all angry about that again. And I was off in a rage. And then I caught myself and I said, whoops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Okay, let's try that again. And I could have been angry at myself for that, but I chose not to. I chose to say, okay, I made a mistake. I'm going to try it again. And I sat down again and I got maybe 10 minutes in before some other thing got me riled up. And then, okay, over and over and over and over again, I eventually kept going back to it. And I kept going back to it, just like exercising in the gym. You don't start out lifting the really heavy weights the first day. You've got to build up to it. And so I knew that I had to get control of that, and I kept going at it over and over and over and over again. And luckily, at that particular point in time, I had a lot of time available, so I didn't have to focus on much else. And within about 2 weeks, I was able to finally sit down, find that source of joy within, that source of love within, and just sit with that in peace for a half hour, an hour, whatever I sat down to do. And it's like, yeah, this finally feels like what I really want in my life. And I can tell you right off from that moment, everything in my life turned around. Before that point, I was definitely a good buddies with Murphy's Law. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. But after that point, it turned completely around. Everything that could go right started to go right for me. And it was all about taking control of our feelings, taking control of my emotions, choosing to believe that things will be good in my life, even if I didn't see it at the moment. And by choosing to believe in something I could not see, I eventually manifested those things into my life so that I could see them.
John reminded me tonight of the I am and I feel. I've kind of forgotten about that, but that's what you're talking about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Although at that time I didn't realize the I am part of it, but it was all about the feeling part of it. But even that was powerful. The I am part of it is even more powerful when you can identify with the thing that you want to experience, as in I am love, I am peace, I am power, I am prosperity, I am harmony. When you can resonate with those ideas and just pretend for the moment that, okay, this doesn't feel real to me now, but I'm going to pretend that it is real. And that by itself is enough to get the wheels turning, to get that momentum started. And when that momentum gets started, it becomes easier to move it further and faster. And even if you're just pretending in the beginning, it becomes real.
Well, the word is faith. You have faith that it's going to manifest, so you keep on going.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
Definitely.
and Alan, you set intentions. Because once you say those things and you said you feel them, and if you express them and you say, and so it is, there it is. And I found intentions are very strong when you write them down, and so it is. Yes, key is your intention.
Yeah. I have sometimes described the manifesting process. When you boil it down to the simplest possible thing, it's all about intention and belief. Intending something to happen and believing that it will happen.
And
if
feel
you've got
it.
the intention, if you've got the belief, then it will manifest for you.
And you can feel it.
Yep.
That was the thing Neville always said that I didn't understand for the longest time, was about you have to feel it. You have to feel that you have it. And
Right.
once
And
you do that,
when you're vibrating with that energy, then it's
bingo,
like a tuning
you
fork.
create, yes. And like magnets, like across, you can hit one tuning fork and put another one across from it, and after a while it too will vibrate. But they're like magnets, the law of attraction. It will come to you simply because you do feel it. So it's all those things, your intentions, feeling the intention, feeling it completed, and bingo, you can manifest something, and then you stand there and go, did I do that? Yes.
See, this is exactly what we were saying at the beginning. All of us have wisdom. All of us have stories to share. I have a very strong feeling that you could present to this group at some point. So,
Me?
yeah, you're expressing yourself very well. So, I would say that
I had I'm a Reiki master, and we had gone to gone to a business, and we were all Reiki masters, and one of the other Reiki masters, after we'd worked, he said, he read my energy field, and he goes that I had a beautiful turquoise butterfly in my throat, and I was like, me? And he said yes. And so I think that may be what I have most outstanding, is that chakra and that energy to say the words in a way that everybody understands them, that everybody can relate to. That's what really got me about, yes, what Mr. Davis had said was about, John had said about the tongue. Thanks, Pete. Yes. And I thought that was a very interesting thing that he saw and that in me, because nobody else had ever said that to me before. And needless to say, turquoise is my favorite color.
Mm. He read you then too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So looks like Pete has something else to add. Go ahead, Pete.
I just want to say that the part that John talked about, the mirror, I did a play one time called Man La Mancha. Don Quixote, I played Don Quixote to Dream, the Impossible Dream. That's that musical. In the show, there was not in the mirrors. Guys came out with mirrors,
Oh,
and it freaked me out. But I looked in the mirror, and I look at myself, and I go. And so every time John talked about the mirror, I go, "Oh my God, I see the mirror again. I'm in the play again." And so it reminds me a lot about mirrors, and it's just touched me to my soul, man. So thanks, John. Love you, man.
Well, I think we've definitely covered quite a bit here. I'm definitely
Wonderful.
enjoying the energy of the group.
yes.
But I think we probably run the course for this evening. And so we'll go ahead and wind things down. And let's just go ahead and close with another short meditation. So I'll invite you to just settle into the chair that you're in and let your body relax. And as you take another deep breath, realize that there has been much wisdom shared tonight. And we can bring in that wisdom to our deeper mind as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, we can release all of the limiting thoughts that we have had in the past. And as we breathe in the unlimited thoughts and the wise words, and breathe out the limitations, we can choose to feel lighter. We can choose to let our light shine brighter. We can choose to feel love. We can choose to feel joy. We can choose to see blessings everywhere. We can choose to plant good seeds into our life, knowing that they will grow and blossom and manifest into a bountiful harvest for ourselves and for others. Because as we focus on joy and love and blessings, we radiate this energy out into the world. And everyone we come in contact with feels this energy on some level, whether they are conscious of it or not. And as part of the butterfly effect, every little bit of energy that we share with others by our presence, by our thoughts, by our feelings, by our beliefs, we are lifting up the rest of humanity. And all are blessed. And this is one of the main reasons that we are here on this planet, to lift up the spirits of those around us, to lighten the load of those that we come in contact with, to be of service to all. And it is such a blessing to be of service. And so it is. And so I think we've done enough for tonight. And I thank everyone again for being here. And I look forward to seeing you the next time around, which happens to be not next week. So
Thank
blessings
you,
to all.
everybody. It was wonderful, wonderful evening.
Everyone have a safe holiday and
Yes.
relax.
Okay.